to The Hypnotist, the show that gives you inside access to cutting-edge hypnosis with real clients facing genuine issues. Brought to you by the hypnotherapist demanded by celebrities, CEOs, and even royalty, Adam Cox. These recordings took place live from Adam's clinic in London's world-famous Harley Street. So, get yourself comfortable and enjoy today's episode of The Hypnotist.
Hello, it's Adam here, and in this episode of The Hypnotist, I'm going to be doing the first of 3 hypnosis sessions, all based around birthdays as a kind of a mini theme. Unsurprisingly, the reason why I'm doing this theme of birthday-themed hypnosis sessions is actually because I'm just a few hours away from my own birthday, and I started thinking about what birthdays really are and what they mean. And one of the key things that it kind of dawned on me is that birthdays tend to be some of the most memorable memories because of the nature of memories. And the nature of memories are that you have emotions attached to specific life events. So with a birthday, typically you know where you were at kind of different birthdays, maybe because of the location, the people around you, and maybe significant things that kind of happened. Plus, typically lots of pictures or kind of videos are taken around these events, and then each time you see one of those pictures or videos, it gives you a reminder of where you were back then. So from the purpose of regression, birthdays are very, very useful because you kind of know where you were on those significant or meaningful birthdays. So being able to access certain times of your life is really useful, and then birthdays become a peg for that. So in this particular hypnosis session, what we're going to be doing is looking at regression to significant childhood birthdays. And the reason for that, and some people will call it inner child work, some people will call it just regression to the point of cause, different phrases, but what it really means is if you go back in time to a specific moment and communicate with yourself as you were back then, 2 key things can happen. You're able to give new meaning or new resources to a previous time in your life, which can actually be very useful because that tends to ripple throughout your life in a very strange way, but I've seen it happen again and again. And also you're able to get insight from the kind of person that you were back then and apply that into the current time in your life. So back when you were maybe 10 years old or 15 years old or even 4 years old, there would have been strategies or resources that you had back then that could be useful for you in the present if you reconnect with them. And sometimes we forget that there was a time in our life when we were very creative or playful or had no problems at all in making friends or learning quickly. So revisiting those significant parts or times in your life and almost extracting the value from those moments, taking them into the present, can be really powerful. So we're going to use birthdays as the theme of this session, and just go with it. It's a magical journey inside your own imagination. So find a quiet place where you won't be disturbed, relax, and enjoy the session. Take a deep breath in. And as you breathe in a feeling of calm and relaxation. And as you exhale, just allow feelings of tension or worries to just leave your body on your outward breath, enabling you to go deeper and deeper relaxed. That's right, breathing in and breathing out, and if it's safe to do so, just allow your eyelids to close And as they close, notice that you're able to give more of your attention to my words, but also on your breathing. So much so that as you breathe in and breathe out, you can't help but notice you're becoming deeper and deeper relaxed. Not a napping type of relaxation, but a deep tranquility form of relaxation, enabling you to go in such a pleasant state that your imagination becomes more vivid. And I want you in your mind's eye to picture a candle. And maybe to begin with, it's the kind of candle that you would imagine in a dark room. But what if that candle was to change? Perhaps to colourful candles that you might see on a cake. And as you look into the flame, I want you to recall your earliest birthday. Maybe the first one that you can remember, you were maybe 2, 3, 4 years old. And just go back to that memory, almost as if you were going back in time and visiting that moment to see yourself as a small child on your birthday. And you don't have to know exactly what happened. All you need to know is you were a child, it was your birthday, and maybe start to imagine who would have been around you at that time. Where would you have been in that moment? Maybe thoughts of old pictures come to mind as you start to build a picture of that memory, seeing a young child on their birthday. And as you do so, you get a sense of the kaleidoscope of memories from all different times in your life. See yourself as such a young, vulnerable child, full of wonder and possibility. Because there is something magical about a birthday when you're a young child. All that love, attention. And if you did receive that back then as a child, enjoy that. But if you didn't, just know that it wasn't necessary anyway. Good experiences can nourish you, but the absence of good experience can make you stronger. As you continue to breathe in and breathe out, see this young child on their birthday. You get a sense of just how much possibility there was with you. And maybe there were celebrations, and I want you to imagine seeing yourself after all the celebrations, perhaps where you were alone, with just a present to open. But this is a new present. This is a present that you are providing this younger version of you. It's not a toy. You know what happens in this child's life following this birthday. So the present that you will give this child is whatever resource they need most back then. Maybe it was encouragement, belief. Maybe back then as a child what they really needed was understanding or support. And I want you to recall what you were like back then and imagine meeting that younger version of you, maybe on the afternoon or the evening of your birthday. And as they open the present, in that wrapping paper, you know what was inside. And as they open it, whatever resource they needed most back then, just accept that they're taking that resource from you, absorbing it into themselves like waves. Waves on a shore that get soaked up by the sand. Imagine they are absorbing that gift of whatever resource they needed most back then. That's right. Maybe you see the expression on their face, as you know that this will help them in some way. Whatever resource you've given them, just know that it's exactly the resource they need. And as they take it, their facial expressions change. And you know that this gift will have a ripple throughout their childhood. But also, I want you to notice that they have something for you. Because if it's your birthday back then it's also your birthday now in the future. And they give you something that they had when they were that age, just a young child. Maybe it was hope or optimism, possibility maybe. They had things that maybe you've lost connection with. And as you start to reconnect with whatever they're giving you, I want you to get a sense that it's what you need most now. Maybe back then as a child, you had so much playfulness. Maybe your imagination was so active and powerful, creating imaginary friends and whole universes within your imagination that you could play with toys and keep yourself occupied for hours. Whatever they had back then that you need now, just allow them to give you that gift and for you to take it. Enjoy receiving this and start to think how this resource might be useful in your current life at your current age. And then it's time to say goodbye to this young child. As we're about to go forward in time to the most memorable birthday in your teenage years. I don't know if you'd be 13 or 14, or maybe 18 or 19, but whatever is the most memorable and significant birthday in your teenage years, that's the birthday we're going to visit right now. And imagine you're seeing a photograph of you back then on that birthday. And then imagine climbing into that photograph. So you are there seeing yourself as a teenager on your birthday. You're reminded of what you used to look like back then, the clothes you used to wear, maybe the room you used to spend your time. Remember back then what your priorities were, what you valued, what you did with your time. That's right. And as you do so, see your facial expression, see your body language. See what resources you had, but also see what resources you're lacking back then. As you become stronger, from this analysis of your experience, feel what it's like to go back there. Go through space, through time, back to that moment. See yourself as that teenage version of you. Now this time you're not giving a gift. You're giving them advice. Information gleaned from all the years' experience that followed. Now maybe back then as a teenager, you weren't taking advice, but just imagine this scenario. Because you are your future self and they are your younger self. You are the one person they will listen to. And I wonder what advice you would give them. Because you know exactly what happens from this point onwards in their life. You know their successes. You know their failures. You know their strengths, you know their weaknesses, and therefore your advice is worth more to them than any other advice. And imagine giving them that advice. And imagine wondering what you would have done back then if you would have received that advice and taken it. If you had insight from the future, would you have used that insight? Or would it have just been words that got lost in time? I want you to get a sense that in the same way that you're giving them advice, they have some advice for you. Because back when you were a teenager, you had certain things that you've now lost. You've gained a lot, of course, but certain things are missing. And back then, that teenage version of you had at least one thing that you could use right now. And I wonder what that advice would be. Hear what advice they have to share with you. They don't need to know your present situations, they just have something. And maybe it's naivety, maybe it's enthusiasm, maybe it's self-belief that you had back then and you don't have now. But listen to their advice, and more importantly, the intention behind it. And maybe this advice is just a phrase. Maybe it's something specific. Maybe there was something back then as a teenager that was an ambition or a dream and you've lost connection with it. And maybe their advice is to never give up. To follow whatever is important to you. Remember that house, that apartment back then, where you were living. See the clothes you were wearing. Feel that you are reconnecting with a younger version of you, and maybe what you're taking from this moment is a sense of energy, belief maybe, or a reminder of just how resilient you were from between that time and the present time, how much you've overcome. They say whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger. But sometimes strength is simply resilience or wisdom, the lessons you've learned on the way. And I wonder what it would be like to reconnect with all these different versions of you from the past, taking the very best qualities. There's been times in your life you've been more motivated than ever before, more confident than ever before, more focused, more tenacious. imagine distilling these resourceful states and taking them with you into the present, and using these birthdays as just stepping stones in time where you can visit different versions of you that have exactly the resources and the insight that you need right now. Say goodbye to this teenage version of you. Wish them happy birthday as they do the same for you, and recall that you can visit any time in your life whenever you want, knowing that you have something to offer, but also something to receive. Consider it time travel within your own lifetime, that you can defy the laws of physics within your own imagination and just tap into these different insights, emotions, abilities, or sometimes just remind yourself of what you've gone through to become who you are now. You say goodbye to that version of you and find yourself back in the present, looking at a candle. And as you do so, you realize this candle is just within your imagination, and you are listening to my voice firmly in the present. You have visited the past, younger versions of you. You've given them what they needed, and they've given you what you needed. And notice how you start to feel different in the present. And I wonder what this insight will enable you to do today, tomorrow, and in the next week. These gifts that you've been given, how will you put them to use? What's the very next thing that you will do? Resources are like anything. You can have the resource of a spade, technology, money, but unless those resources are put to use, they are worthless. So whatever resources you've taken, whatever wisdom you've received, allow your unconscious mind to give you ideas as to how you will put these resources to use. What new goals will you set? What problems will you overcome? What will you do to take your life in the very direction that you want to take it now? And as your mind comes up with different ideas, possibilities of things that you could do, notice that the future seems a little bit brighter and more positive, more exciting, more appealing. And allow that feeling of gratitude for what you have and a hunger for what you want to resonate to every cell in your body as you recall that you are listening to my voice firmly in the present. And very soon I will count from 1 to 10 to awaken you. You will awaken with a sense of joy that you only get when you remember birthdays, good birthdays. Hunger that you will get by reminding yourself of what you are capable of. And you will awaken with gratitude, grateful for your life experiences, because either you've had good experiences or you've had experiences that will teach you valuable lessons that you can then apply for the rest of your life. But either way, you will awaken feeling happy, confident, and motivated just because. Starting to count to awaken you. 1, 2, 3, waking up. 4, 5, 6, more alert. 7, 8, open your eyes, open your eyes. 9, 10, wide awake, wide awake, wide awake.